It is an incredible honor to be here today with all of you to put on our NGSC alumni panel. My name is Brett Hunt, and I'm the Senior Director of Next Generation Service Initiatives at the Volcker Alliance. Additionally, I'm very happy to be a professor of practice here at ASU in the School of Public Affairs. Anybody who has been or is in my class, raise your hand. Yeah, all right, yeah, PAF 315, yeah. That's how we're really nerdy when we shout out course numbers as a motivation. But really excited to be here with our alumni. Now, as we get ready to jump in, I want to note that we have students here from around the country. You've already heard from 8 students from 4 different universities around the country that are part of the expanding network that we have of 18 universities that are building out Next Generation Service Corps programs. Now, that's a really important moment in time for us. And I spend a lot of my time going around the country talking to universities about the work that you all have done here, what you have built for the model. And I'll tell you, the reason they're expanding and building programs is not because I'm a great salesman, not because Kim Baldwin is a great salesman, or even Michael Crow is a great salesman. It's because of the alumni. It's because the folks, like those that we're going to hear from right now, are out making their communities better places. This idea we had back in 2015 when we launched that we could build something that took a degree from a great university and match that to a passionate, informed young person with lived experience that wanted to make things better, and then really put the NGSC in the middle of that and connective tissue to those things to build out the leadership skills, the cross-sector skills, the character-driven leadership skills to go out and actually make an impact. And I'm proud to say that we have folks up here who are doing just that. So now I will stop talking, and as means of introduction, I'm going to ask them to go down and kind of all answer the same question and tell us about themselves, their name. I also want to hear what you studied at ASU and what your social mission was. But first, Kendall, talk me through what your path has been from ASU into what you're doing now, and where do you see your path going from here?
Cool. Nice to meet you all. I'm Kendall Dooley. I was a criminal justice criminology major at ASU. I was part of the first cohort, which like the first cohort, I don't know if you guys know, but the first semester, there was like no tuition. It was just like we did it because we were passionate about social change and trying to figure out what that means. And so it's beautiful to see all of you all in the room and the work that you guys have done. Yeah, I think give it up for like Brad and the whole team and just for you all. But to answer your question, my pathway from where I'm at now, I work at a organization in the city called Neighborhood Ministries, which is a community development organization in South Central Phoenix that serves a vulnerable population, an immigrant community, Latino community. And yeah, I think my pathway of learning to care about those who are the most vulnerable in the room, of seeing like who are those that have been like treated the most unjustly in a space, of choosing to be in solidarity with them, and having that from like my faith lens is what kind of got me here where I'm at today, and then where I'm going in the future. Maybe talk more about this later, but I'm starting a nonprofit called Black South that's focused on reverse migrating to the South to be in solidarity and partnership with African American neighborhoods and communities that have been historically traumatized through history. And so, yeah, that's the future, and a lot of it is just focused on caring for the vulnerable.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elliot Wasbatten. I am currently the instructional coach and international baccalaureate coordinator at a brand new dual language immersion school in Avondale. When I first started here at ASU, I was a finance major, realized that I didn't like anything about finance, so I switched over to global health. And after graduating, I ended up entering Teach for America. Through Teach for America, that's where I was placed at. Teach for America, if you want more information, I know we have a rep here, but it's a great program. I stayed at my partner school for 3 years, and then this past year I was asked to help open up this new school with my past principal as well. In the future, I am going back to Arizona State in August to get my Master's of Educational Leadership, again through Teach for America as well. And then hopefully gonna continue to become vice principal, principal, really working in education with the groundwork. If you are on the civics team and want to work with our fifth graders on civic engagement at a young age, please reach out, let me know. But also if you're working just in education sector as well, or you want to get into it, we would love to have you come out to our school and really work together to make their learning experiences for our students wonderful and really show them that even at a young age, you can go in the community and make a change. So thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Courtney Lingerud. I am from cohort 2 at NGSC. I came to ASU wanting to start a nonprofit. My social mission was focused on increasing access to deaf education for youth in East Africa. And eventually I just decided I wanted to pursue it more, and I went into my master's degree where I focused on deaf education in Kenya. And currently, or while I was doing that too, I also worked with EPICS, Engineering Projects and Community Service, where I help source new projects. I also develop and lead study abroad programs with them to South Africa and Vietnam. Currently, I am a PhD student here at ASU in the Justice and Social Inquiry program. I still work with EPICS, and I also serve as a board member for a nonprofit based in Western Kenya called the Jirani Project.
All right. Hello, NGSC. It's a pleasure to be with you here, guys. It's been a while. It feels like it's been forever. I mean, it's only been, 3 years, 4 years, but it feels like it's been a while. My name is Mustafa Al-Alusi. My major is electrical engineering with a focus on power and energy systems. Graduated from ASU. Currently an electrical engineer at City of Mesa and a humanitarian with a global nonprofit organization called Helping Hand for Relief and Development. Believe it or not, I lead a crazy busy life. I run 2 full-time jobs, but that's what NGSC is all about, right?
Right.
You know, get that cross sector, you know? So I guess I'm taking it all the way here, but you know, and my mission was climate and energy sustainability when I was here. You know, I had a pleasure with working with other NGSC fellows and, you know, interacting with professors and industry experts. My hope is, you know, long-term is to combine the technical aspect of engineering with, you know, the passion for humanitarian relief work and, you know, get out there in the world and try to serve the people who are most in need using these 2 experiences and expertise we have. So it's a pleasure being here with you guys and looking forward to the questions on the panel. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Taylor Sokolovich. I'm a cohort 3 NGSC alum. I studied urban planning and I have my bachelor's and master's from ASU. I did a 4+1, which is a great program for any major that you might have. Look into it. After graduating from my master's degree, I went on to work as a demographer, and I was doing economic and social change, population change research for a lot of school districts here in Arizona, trying to understand what their student population is going to look like in the future. And I took my desire to understand the future to a passion of mine, which is aviation. And I currently work at the airport. I am the Sky Harbor airport planner. And essentially I describe my job as dreaming and thinking and research of the future for the airport. So I touch a bunch of different things: noise regulation, sustainability, terminal design, concourse, routes that we might be taking, but I also get to touch the land surrounding the airport and the people that are most affected by the airport's offset and noise. And so I kind of get to do a whole bunch of things, which I think NGSC was really helpful in being able to not only have that cross-sector leadership where I work with nonprofit, public, private, but I am also having a greater understanding of the entire picture of how the airport is going to look, but what it is doing right now for our community in both the positive and the negative.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mariana Peña. I was a political science major here at ASU. I was in cohort 2. And so my focus was tackling mental health stigma within the Latino communities and increasing access. So that was my time at ASU. From there, after I finished here at ASU, I joined the Mission for Arizona Biden 2020 campaign. So if you got a phone call or a text message, or many of them during that time, that might have been me. And so from there, I think you might have known that we won. And after that, I went and joined former council member Carlos Garcia, his office in the city of Phoenix. And so my area was South Phoenix, Levine, up to Arcadia Light, including the airport. And so I worked there. I started off as a constituent projects manager. And so through that, I did a lot of projects with participatory budgeting, other neighborhood initiatives, and working a lot with constituents. And then from there, while I was there, I got promoted to director of research, and so that's where I was doing a lot of research and helping with policy development, going to council meetings, meeting with community partners, and helping craft legislation. After I finished my time there, I am moving in my current role, which is I'm the mayor assistant for Mayor Corey Woods for the city of Tempe, and so that's where I'm working right now with our focuses on homelessness, housing, a lot of those things that I know that you all are probably affected by too, and then also working with constituents on a lot of different projects, economic development, community planning, being able to touch all those different parts too, and then just helping with other city functions too. So if you hit a pothole on the way here, just let me know and I can put in a report for that.
Thanks, Mariana. Let's give everybody a big round of applause. Okay. All right. So let's actually start with Taylor. So Taylor, we talk all the time in this program about being a cross-sector leader. We have classes about it. We have classes about each sector. We have community impact labs, all of those things. What's it like to actually be a cross-sector leader, to go to work every day and have to leverage public, private, nonprofit, and even in Sky Harbor's case, the military scenario? What's it like day to day to go to your job and be a cross-sector leader?
Yeah, one of the benefits, and I think the best part of my job, is I get to be an active member in many different organizations, research groups, study groups, work groups, and we have all these insane conversations. I think the best part of my job is I get to see what the future is going to look like. We talk about drones, security, environmental sustainability. Every meeting is really different, and I think that I guess I'm trying to answer your question, but it's just incredibly important that you are out there learning every perspective possible, because there will be days that the military comes in and says that they're going to do something, and that's how they're going to do it. And we have no say in that, but then there's other conversations that we're having with other, specifically like MAG, Maricopa Association for Government, wow, I'm like spacing. Yes.
Association.
I'm like, there's so many acronyms, but like currently working with MAG on a freeway project, so I am having more of a stakeholder engaged conversation where we're not only talking about what are they going to do and what are we going to do, but we're also talking about how it's going to impact the people around us. And the ability to think about that in other people's shoes is where all the work that you all are doing right now in these classes is so important.
Thank you so much. All right, next one's for Mustafa. Mustafa, you know, the old Dos Equis commercials, right? The most interesting man in the world. It's not actually that guy, it's Mustafa. So you are an engineer.
Correct.
Mesa.
Yep.
You are a leader and work at a nonprofit that addresses issues on an international scale, like floods and earthquakes, massive issues. You're also a father,
Yep.
A husband,
Yep.
family member. How is it?
List goes on. Yes.
Right. How is it that as a human being, you balance all those things, and what keeps you motivated to keep moving down a really arduous path?
Great question. Thank you, Brett. So I think for me, I've always, when I think about, the ability to lead a life of impact, right? I keep thinking about a phrase that I live by, which is fulfillment is about living a life of purpose and service, right? I mean, I can go and work as an engineer at the city of Mesa, right? But if there's no purpose behind that, if I'm not serving people, if I'm not changing something to, to the better, right? Every day I go to work, then eventually that's going to fade off, right? And there's no motivation, no life in this work, right? Same thing with my, humanitarian aspect. The humanitarian part of me is like, I'm changing someone's life to the better, whether I'm providing access to education or access to clean drinking water, or sponsoring an orphan, or going to countries after hurricanes or earthquake, which I've done before. I've been to Haiti, I've been to the Caribbean, and I've seen what people are going through during emergency response. Being able to go there and build up and help people, that's in itself what kind of keeps me motivated. So to answer Brett's question is what keeps you motivated is the purpose, right? You set out for yourself. And this is right now, it's your opportunity to set up that purpose, right? What am I trying to get? If I live 40, 50 years, 70 years, whatever that is, right? And I look back, would I be proud of, those years and what I've done in those years, right? So the point is purpose and service. And that's exactly what I found in these two jobs, because our bottom line, whether it's in the public sector, is service. And whether you're on the humanitarian side and then the nonprofit side, it's also service to others in improving their lives. So I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. And Courtney, you'll be next. So speaking of that purpose and service, I remember your very first class, the NGSC, and afterwards you came up to me and you articulated exactly what you have now manifested in your life. I remember it specifically because it was so very specific, deaf children in East Africa. And I believed you would do it, but it's a pretty hard path in the last 6 years from that moment. Tell us how it is you manifested what your purpose and mission was at that time into the reality that you're living today.
So I think a big part of it was the ability to be adaptable and open. I remember talking with you specifically, and I was like, I'm going to start a nonprofit. And you said, not everyone in the world can start a nonprofit. And I remember too, my freshman year, I was really fortunate. I spoke Spanish and knew sign language, so I was invited to go on a study abroad with the graduate school to Nicaragua. I went there, and I was initially studying audiology when I came to ASU, and that moment, it struck something for me when I was there, and I said, no, I think this issue is way more complex than a hearing aid can fix. And so I ended up changing my major to global health. I started looking at, okay, how does education impact this? How does policy impact this? How does the community impact this issue? And I was really fortunate to my internships that I did with NGSC. My first summer, I went to Uganda and Ethiopia, working with a nonprofit called Deaf Child Hope International. I then started to narrow down, okay, I see where the issue is, I see where I can focus. And then I had met some professors at ASU who took interest in my interests, which was amazing. They ended up sponsoring actually both Elliot and I to go to Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. And there we got to work not only with the nonprofit organizations, but private schools. And also we worked with the Parliament of Uganda's National Council for Disability doing research with public schools. So really getting to see the different areas. And then when I think just the hunger to know more, when I graduated, I was like, I don't think I've finished. I think there's more that I can do, more that I can learn. And that's when I went on to pursue my master's. And 2 masters later, I remember I finished my thesis defense, and I told my committee, I said, I think I need to do my PhD. I think there's more. So I think just being open to the changes and really finding support from different people that are interested in supporting you along your journey.
Awesome, Courtney. Thank you. Next, we'll go to Mariana. So, Mariana, you always have operated at a level much higher than one would say a freshman in college or a sophomore in college or somebody 2 years or 3 years or 4 years after college. You've always operated at a really high level. Where does that courage come from to just go into the rooms and take a seat at the table and be around those tables? As somebody who did, I would get a call and I'd be like, oh, Mariana's calling. She'd be like, hey, Brett, hey, how's it going? Yeah, you need to give money to Mission for Arizona. She's very, very good at it. She wasn't calling just to check in on me. She was calling to get money back. Anyway, but how do you do it at that level? And what would your advice to everybody out here be about just taking a seat at that table and operating at that high level?
For sure. So being in those situations of going into a room, I'm in those situations often where at the city of Tempe, people will tell me like, oh yeah, I've been working here for like 25 years, been doing these work. And I'm like, wow, okay, you've been doing this longer than I've been breathing. So knowing that you will be scared, it is intimidating to go into these spaces, but learning what advantages you have and what knowledge you actually bring that a lot of other people in those rooms might not have. Right now, your youth is an advantage. Right now, you have a perspective that a lot of the people who are currently in power and currently doing work don't have. For example, when our city was talking about the impacts of, gun violence at schools, I was having conversations and knowing that I was probably one of the only people in the room who had been through active shooter drills. And so being able to give those perspectives was something I actually added to the room. I think there's also, I think what Mustafa was talking about, the hunger up for it, of wanting to know more, wanting to make a bigger impact, and wanting to open doors. But I think even something that's been more important for me from opening those doors is making sure that I'm keeping that door open behind me and bringing others through who maybe don't have all the advantages that I've had or don't have the resources that I have. Being able to bring them through the door with me has been an incredible thing and has given me so much hope and inspiration and has actually taught me more about myself than maybe some of my mentors have even taught me, is being able to learn from each other, learn from people younger than me, help them grow, which has allowed me to grow as well, and having that as an inspiration there too. And then for myself as well, I always have my guiding light of I'm eventually going to end back up in New Mexico where I'm from, and so that service of wanting to go back to my community, learning as much as I can, taking the opportunities that I can, and being able to go back to where I'm from and being able to make those bigger impacts has always been a guiding light for me too. And so that kind of hunger has always been something that's driven me and made me push past those fears too, because that fear is still real, that discomfort, that imposter syndrome can still be there, but knowing that a lot of the times people don't come from where you've come from in those rooms, and so that perspective is very valuable. And so being able to do that and being willing to also make mistakes too. I cannot tell you how many mistakes I'm so glad I made in college, of being able to just throw things at the wall, see what stuck, trying for things and sometimes failing. I'm so glad I learned those lessons in college, because I think you guys can probably say, once you get a little bit older, making mistakes isn't as cute. So make mistakes now is one of my biggest recommendations. Be willing to throw yourself out there, make a mistake, but honestly, I've learned more from my mistakes than when things probably went the way I planned them to go.
Thank you, Mariana. Thank you. Next we'll go back to Kendall. So Kendall, we've known each other for 9 years now. Isn't that crazy? And I just remember from the very beginning, we'd have coffee out in front of UCent and talk. And you were always striving for kind of truth, I always felt. Like how can I be the most impactful? Why are things like this happening in our community? And so there's a lot of things. You're a brilliant guy. You could have gone and done a whole variety of different things. And you've chosen a very specific path that impacts humans' lives. Why? Why have you chosen to dedicate your life to improving the human condition?
It's a good question. I think I question that every day, and in the sense that it's not a comfortable space. But yeah, I think for me and what I do now is I work a lot with youth and young adults and college age like you all, and put people on a vocational discernment process of asking people the question like, what is your great gladness? Beginning there of like, what is your great gladness? What do you desire? And then moving on to like, what is the problem you see within the world? And so if I were to look back into like, question myself that of like, what was the problem that I was seeing in the world? It took me a while, but I'm finally here, I feel like, in the sense of understanding my understanding and theory of social change, which like, I talk about these concepts and things all the time, but you guys are right in this program that has this theory of social change, of developing leaders in the different sectors to find the world's solutions and issues. And so when contemplating, like, okay, what is my theory, my personal theory of like what social change looks like? And it partnered also like with my faith, was then like, man, I feel like what I'm seeing in my faith is this like lifting up of those who are oppressed and marginalized. I'm like, man, that's probably where I should be. How do I position myself to like be in that space? Because that's what felt like became the most important thing to me in my faith that I was having at that time. And like, sadly, I look back on my own NGSC experience and like, man, I don't know if at the time I had the language to like partner what was most important to me, which was my faith, which is what I was desiring after the most, connecting it with like the heart of NGSC and seeing social change. Like I didn't have the language at that time fully to connect it. I think some of it's being taught at your guys' classes. I don't know if I was listening all the time and that closely. But I think that partnership of my faith becoming the most important thing to me and seeing the root of that was to be with the oppressed and be in solidarity is what put me in the position I'm in now, which isn't comfortable, but is beautiful.
Love that. Isn't comfortable, but is beautiful. Yeah. That's wonderful. Elliot. All right, so Elliot, tell us what you're seeing in public education through your lens in TFA, and then now transitioning to full-time. Not that TFA is not full-time, but out of TFA and into a career in education. And then why should we all do TFA? So 2 questions.
Perfect. Well, first, the scene of education, especially public education in Arizona, is a really tricky scene to be in. Being a first-year school, but also a dual language school. Last week I had a parent come in with Prop 202 on their phone saying, why are you teaching Spanish? It's an English-only state, English-only laws, because we had those. And yes, now there are new movements and everything, but also a lot of dual language schools are being sued by Tom Horn for their dual language programs. So not only is it working to provide the benefits for the students and for the children, because, well, you are multilingual, you're gonna make more money. You're gonna have a lot more experiences, right? A lot of job opportunities. And to be able to position that and to tell them that, no, this is a positive, it's a benefit. We're working with a lot of different spaces, convincing, yes, the community, but also our students to have that determination. It's also tricky when we're looking at the curriculums, right? And the narratives that we're pushing. We always say history is written by the victors or who won. So being able to make sure that we're able to teach our students standards and facts, but allow them to make their own opinions and judgments. There's a lot of hierarchy in education. Teachers teach, students learn. Or we can face education as, you know what, we're gonna provide you with an opportunity. Sure, we're still gonna be able to learn how to write. But do I really need to tell you what to write? Or can we indulge in some inquiry and have you follow that passion when it comes to writing and taking charge of your own education? So our school in the time of education we're right now in it's tricky because we're trying to give our students more of a voice. And Teach for America taught me that, right? Teach for America was something that it paid for 1 master's, it's about to pay for a 2nd master's, so that's a good benefit. But also you're with a lot of people from diverse backgrounds where we are working together to fight the inequities in education and knowing we can't do it alone, but we can definitely do it together, so.
Thank you. So now we're gonna hammer through some really rapid fire questions, right? And so these all came from student leadership and others. And then we'll have a quick moment for some other questions. But I'm just gonna start, we'll start here with Kendall, and then just have everybody kind of answer this, but very briefly. So if you could go back to being whatever year, let's say sophomore, junior, you're at ASU, you're in the NGSC, what's one thing you would do that you didn't do at that time?
I think I would slow down probably and listen more. Let's slow down and listen more. To teachers, to peers, let's slow down and listen.
I would become more involved. I was the leader of Disabilities Empowerment Mission Team. That being said, knowing how to network now versus knowing how to network then, I definitely would be out in the community way more and having actual change being made.
For me, I would network, network, network. I am still in touch with a lot of people from my cohort, and we still see different ways to collaborate now, but if I had just networked more and with all of NGSC, I couldn't imagine all the different partnerships that I'd be able to have right now with my work.
Sure. I would start with what Courtney said as well. Networking. I think that was a big thing for me. So being able to you guys got to realize you as an NGSC student here has an amazing opportunity and access to a lot of people that you could network with that can help you achieve what you want to achieve. Right. So that's one. Second is being aware, right? A lot of time you're busy with your schooling, your classes, NGSC. You're still taking the NGSC classes, right? Oh yeah, okay. So being busy with all these classes and your major and whatnot, you kind of lose that, state of awareness that what am I doing this for, right? How do I make it better, right? And you tend to monotone. So don't let yourself monotone. Always keep making progress. Always keep, stay in the state of awareness to, take it to the next level, whatever you learn in these classes and what have you, and in putting the effort. So I wish, if I were back at NGSC, that's probably what I would capitalize on.
If I had some extra time, I would have honed in on simple skills. And I mean writing emails, using Excel, using software that you might be using in your major. You're going to be thrown into your job. And if you can write a more concise email or speak more fluently in any position that you're in, you're going to be either it's going to be perceived with better respect, right, in the office place. So it's going to propel you much further if you can just start with emails, Excel, getting things in on time, and really focusing on what people are saying in every meeting that you go to.
Definitely want to reiterate that relationship building. There's so many people who I now work with who are in NGSC, know about NGSC. I'm going to have folks attending my wedding who were a part of NGSC. So that's one big one. But the other one I would say is watch for burnout. Make sure to take care of yourself. A lot of us are going to be working in service organizations, and it can be draining sometimes too. And I know I'm in a room full of overachievers. I was one too, but you can burn yourself out as well. I know I was a mental health advocate, so I always had a therapist. It was something that helped me, but really I wish I spent more time focusing on that because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Awesome. And so Mariana, we're going to start with the next question, rapid fire for you. What skills, tangible skills that you learned in the NGSC do you use every day in your work?
There's two that come to mind. One is just the cross-sector knowledge of being able to understand what a 501c3 and what 501c4, how that interacts with the public sector. I work with that every single day as working in the public sector, so that's a big one. But then also is the team building and leadership opportunities. I still use the values exercise that we did on day one of my first NGSC class with all of my teams as I do team building exercises with them. So that leadership opportunity allowed me to get into more here at ASU, that allowed me to go into the positions I got after ASU. So that early leadership opportunities, take those when you have them.
I think you already answered the question, cross-sector leadership. However, I also think the ability to have a comprehensive view of any problem that you are looking at. I think often problems are very pinholed, and when you can step out above and see the cause and effect of things, that is a really powerful trait and tool that you learn in NGSC. And just make sure that you're always thinking of the bigger picture and the 20-year, the 50-year, the 100-year timeline for any project that you're doing in whatever sector you land in.
Definitely the skills of each sector, right? Like when you guys study about, private and, innovation, correct? And then public sector policy, nonprofit service, right? That's, being able to dig into that deeper, right? And get to the intricacies of each sector and the personnel and the people in work in that sector to be able to actually convince them to work together to solve a challenge, right? I've always think about the article that was shared with us, I think from Business Harvard Review that talked about, it's beautiful.
Tri-sector leadership?
Yeah, correct, yep, tri-sector leadership, amazing article, right? And they outlined the story of how that I forgot the name of the person, but how he was able to tap into each industry, right, and then tackle a problem that he is in. And I can tell you, like I work in the profit and nonprofit and the public, and I see it. I see policies in the public sector, right, like to prove something, right, to prove a proposal. It has to go all the way to the city engineer, and she has to sign it on, and so on, right? And you have to why? Because you're working with tax dollars, right? You're working with people's money, right? The citizens of Mesa paying for that, right? So you have to justify everything, and it takes long, right? But then when I'm dealing with a contractor, right, or a designer, then this guy is about innovation. So that's the language I'm going to speak to him with, right? And if you're working in the nonprofit, they speak service. So I got to be able to tap into their resources and understand the language they speak so I can, combine that. So being able to capitalize on that while you're here, to be able to, articulate and get all these people in one room is definitely something that, you should be working on strengthening.
I'm going to echo the cross-sector collaboration here. I think that everyone is here because you're passionate about something. And it can seem big because these are complex issues that we're facing in the world. But when we recognize how collaboration eases so much of that, because each person, organization, or sector has different resources, knowledge, and experiences to bring that will help impact it, that's when you can start to see how change is possible. So really that, and then also just curiosity and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Ask difficult questions. That's how you learn, that's how you grow, and that will never stop. So ask questions, follow your line of inquiry, and keep engaging. Follow up on your engagement. You don't have to wait for someone to bring it to you. Take interest and invest in it now.
Get okay with hearing the words no being said to you. Especially when you're trying to work with different sectors, right? Being able to use the language with who you're trying to partner with or who you need help with. Am I talking to an organization because I want them to help and they have that service mindedness, or are they going to be a silent donor and they want us to market to our communities and then they can put up a booth, right? So knowing who to talk to, but also if they say no, that just means you're going to keep going and keep trying. Courtney and I think it was reached out to over about 100 different organizations in East Africa before we landed that internship with the parliament. We got no from 99, and that one who said yes, honestly, was probably the coolest part of my life. So get comfortable with no, and then just keep grinding and keep working with that.
That's real. But I echo all you all and say the cross-sector for sure of becoming pretty familiar with 501c3 work and all of that back-end stuff, what some of that means, and then how to speak the language of the other sectors has been helpful in collaboration. But I'll also say, I think it was my first year, I can't remember what the class is, it was with Akshay Patel, who talked about community development and what we were doing, and that is the work I do, that's 100% of what I do now, and learning that, and now doing it, I'm oh yeah, I was learning this back in NGSC. I should have took that a little bit more seriously. But community development being a theory of change of how to help develop a community, right? Sometimes we think well, let me talk to who's the person in power, who's the most person who's in power, instead of going to well, let me just go to this neighbor or who the people in the community and asking what are their assets, what are their skills, and then starting there. And then also when I'm in the room with the powerful people, of understanding what are the skills and assets in the room. And some of that language from NGSC helped with what I do now.
Incredible to hear, and just that idea of approaching every scenario with a human-centered approach, and then identifying your stakeholders and what their values and motivations are. That is just incredible to hear. I mean, that is sophisticated, cross-sector collaboration in action every day in your communities. So now we're going to turn it over and ask if there's any questions from the audience. If you have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand, and we will get it answered. If you want to stand up, do you need a microphone, or you want to just say it loud and then I'll repeat it? Okay. great question. I'll just repeat it for the people in the back. What tips do you have for networking across all three sectors?
So I think one of the things that helped me though is being genuinely interested in what these people are doing, right? Like if I go to Brett, for example, right? It's like Brett is leading this NGSC program, right? And start talking to him about, hey, Brett, what is this about? You know, what inspired you about this? What got you into this? What are you trying to get out of it? And starting that conversation, right? And see where you can tune in and where you can help, right? And offer that help, right? And like Courtney was saying, follow up on that engagement. Once you engage, follow up on this. And what Tyler was saying, right? Don't take no for an answer, right? Just keep nagging, right? So first of all, being genuinely interested in these people, what they're all about, right? Starting that conversation, learning how to tune in and where you can help, where you can fit in, and offering the help and following on the help, right? That's been, you know, that worked out for me and it's been working, right? Because people, when they see you're genuinely interested in what they do, they will naturally open up to you, right? And naturally request, you know, your help or service. So I think that's a great tip to work with.
And also real quick, when it comes to networking, be a lifelong learner. If you're in a space that you may be unfamiliar with, be interested, but also don't pretend like you know everything. You're there to learn, and sometimes saying, hey, I'm really interested about this, can you just teach me a little bit or tell me more? If you leverage some people's strengths, especially depending on what sector you're in, they'll be very inclined to help you, to talk with you. Don't look necessarily always, depending on where you're at, for the biggest partnership, but who are the people who are actually doing the work? They're usually the easiest to talk to also.
We have time for one more question. One more question in the audience. Yeah, go ahead.
I can go just because I have the mic. For me, I think for one, it would probably be my second internship that I did through NGSC, where we're gone for I think 6 or 7 weeks in traveling in Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, working with a number of organizations. I learned so much just in being there, working with the organizations, and then also seeing how to be adaptable on the ground with things not going correctly. We were supposed to do surveys in a school, and we were walked into a room with probably 300 students staring at us and had to adapt on the spot. So I definitely learned a lot during my time there, and it's impacted me till today.
I think it really, for me, was the relationships that I built, especially in the classroom. I think kind of going back to that earlier point about how to network, right now you are in a room with people who will be in every sector. So it's like the people I knew who were in my classroom, I am now interacting with them out in the world. For example, State Representative Lorena Austin. Them and I, we were in the same class in NGSC, we were in the same group project. And now, several years out, we're actually working together. Like I'm gonna be meeting with them this week for a project that we're working on. And so actually leverage the relationships you have in this room right now, because invest in those, because then now in my work, I know people who work in every single sector. So I can reach out to them with their own subject expertise, and they can also help me know more about their area. And so it's not just networking with people who are already in those fields, but networking with the people who will be as well.
Go ahead, Taylor.
I was just going to say real quick, the internships are probably the most powerful thing that you do in this position. Not only are you networking with other students that are going to be in a variety of sectors, you're meeting people who have worked in that sector possibly their entire life, especially in public service. You'll meet people who are like, I've been at the city for 40 years. Use their knowledge and get to know them and build the connection with them. Talk about NGSC, talk about your work at ASU. They're excited to hear about the next generation, and that is going to create a network of, oh my gosh, my high school student is looking to go to NGSC. Can you give me some tips? Or go to ASU, can you give me some tips? That's building a connection beyond work. And now you have a pathway to talk about anything that you'd like to talk about, any sector. So just keep those connections.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and close out now. Speaking of connections, Taylor, how best to get in touch with you? Are you a LinkedIn, or somebody should swing up and talk to you afterwards? What's the best way?
I do have my business card, so I can pass that out, but LinkedIn as well.
All right, Mariana, same question.
Same, I have LinkedIn business cards, or come talk to me.
All right, Mustafa, best way to get in.
LinkedIn would be great. You know, I don't have my business card on me, but I can shoot that over through LinkedIn, give you a digital one.
Courtney.
LinkedIn, business cards, or come up and talk to me.
LinkedIn, email, it's on the website. And then, yeah, just come talk.
Yeah. Email, come talk to me, and yeah, social media.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much to our panel. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys. Okay, we're gonna